Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. Bernard R. Wilson, the senior minister at Northfield Congregational Church in Weston, Connecticut, and I am one of the founding members of the David and Dovetta Wilson Scholarship Fund, and I currently serve as its chair.
Thank you so much for giving me your time today so I can interview you. And I just want to start with a couple general questions about your life so I can get to know you a little bit better. Um, so, quickly, when and where were you born?
So I was born in Harlem, in New York City. I won't say what year, but it was several years ago, and my 8 siblings and I were all raised in Harlem.
I was gonna say I know you have a large family, so 8 siblings. That's crazy. Where do you fall in the lineup of these
Eight
siblings?
siblings, and I'm number 6.
Okay.
And there were, so I have 4 brothers and I had 4 sisters. One sibling died about 10, 15 years ago.
How do you feel about being somewhere in the middle? Do you think being the middle child has affected you at all?
So interesting question. So one of the things that happened is the family was divided almost in two. And so my oldest siblings were considered those who were born in the 50s or 40s. And the rest of us who were born later were considered the younger group. And I ended up being the oldest of the youngest.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
So, what does everyday life look like for someone with 8 or 9 siblings in Harlem during the 1950s and 60s?
So we lived in the Lincoln Projects, and there were 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and we had to take turns using them to get to school on time. But I really always want to say about living and growing up in Harlem, we had a fun time as a family. We were our own community and had fun playing off of each other and doing the things we did as kids.
It's amazing. And in what ways do you think spending your formative years in not only Harlem, but at the apex of the civil rights movement has shaped you as a person? And are there any specific stories or moments from this time that you still carry with you?
So my mother would, and I would echo that, the church was an important part of who we were growing up. Uh, Unfortunately, we spent every night in church and all day on Sundays. One of my favorite stories is there was an old gospel song that said, when we all get to heaven, every day was going to be like Sunday. And I thought, oh my God, that is not the heaven I want to go to. But being in the church was a critical part of keeping us stable in a place like Harlem. The other element to the church was school. And my parents, neither of whom had a high school education. My mother was only able by law in Alabama to go to school to the 4th grade. And my dad in South Carolina went to school up to the 8th grade. And so for both of them, seeing their children get an education was critical to who they want, to what they wanted. And so from their perspective, a high school diploma, if we got a high school diploma, they were just delighted. And fortunately for us, we all went on to get college degrees.
And I want to touch on your expansive list of degrees. And please correct me if I get any of these wrong. From my research, I've read that you have a Bachelor's of Arts from Morehouse College, a
Yes.
Master's of Divinity from the Interdenominational Theological Center here in Atlanta,
Yes.
a Master's of Sacred Theology from Union Theological Seminary in New York, a Master's in Business Administration from Sal Virginia University in Rhode Island, and a Doctor of Ministry from Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary in South Hamilton,
You have
Massachusetts.
hit them all.
That is crazy. That you are incredibly educated.
And here's the thing about that. When I was in high school and I went to Stuyvesant High School in New York City, um, I just wanted to get out of high school. And I thought if I could get out of high school, I would never darken the door of another school again. Didn't work out that way.
And look what happens. So I also learned something from your daughter-in-law that you attended community college before attending Morehouse, if I'm not mistaken.
That that's true. So I got out of high school, didn't want to go to college. Someone suggested that I go to community college, and at the last minute, literally the week before school was to start, I went and applied to Bronx Community College in New York City, and did a semester there before transferring to Morehouse in Atlanta.
Okay, amazing. Because I was going to ask, what were the primary factors that kind of pushed you? And was it the person suggesting, like, hey, maybe you should try community college?
Another funny story. So hadn't applied to college, finished high school. It's June. I get to August, and it feels as if I should be going back to school in September. I go to Bronx Community College. There's a line coming out of the door to sign up for classes. There are only 2 classes left on the board to sign up for. And I was just about to leave and give up on going to school when I noticed on the stage my sister Katharina was sitting there taking in the students. So I go down to the stage and I said, Katharina, I need to get into classes. And she says, okay, take 3 envelopes. There were 3 index cards. Take the index cards, fill out the 3 classes you want, and I'll sneak them into the box. And she did, and that's how I got into Bronx Community College.
Wow, amazing. And from somebody who just finished the college application process themselves, I'm going into my freshman year of college. I feel like the option of going to community college before attending a 4-year university is not always talked about, or sometimes it's not frowned upon, but it's not as common. So, what would you say, or would you encourage others to attend a 2-year community college before transferring to another university if they were thinking about
Absolutely.
it?
I don't think I would have been as successful in college had I not gone to community college for that just for that 1 year. It made a huge difference in letting me know that I had the skills to succeed in college, and I am forever grateful for community college. And I advocate for people if they're thinking about a gap year or anything like that, try community college.
Amazing, amazing. And it is absolutely apparent that through your accomplishments and your degrees that your faith seems like an integral part of not only your education but your life. So how did your faith influence your path in higher education?
So once I got into college, and it was actually at Morehouse in Atlanta, was when I felt the call to ministry. And once I finished at Morehouse, the Interdenominational Theological Center, which was just down the street, and my denomination, it was part of that interdenominational complex. Uh, they invited me to attend to receive my Master's of Divinity. And once I did, I got a call from the United States Navy asking if I would serve as a Navy chaplain. And I served as a Navy chaplain for 22 years.
Wow.
And enjoyed every minute of it.
That's amazing. And where did your time as a Navy chaplain take you?
So I started out my naval career in Jacksonville, Florida, where I met my wife, Nareda, who was a Navy nurse at the time. We were married in Jacksonville. Our first son, Michael, was born on Okinawa, Japan, when I was serving with the Marines. Our second son, Daniel, was born when I was serving in Newport, Rhode Island. And we just kind of went through the years with them. My son, Michael, ended up going to the Naval Academy when he graduated from high school. So we're kind of like a military family.
Amazing. So, in the context of higher education, I, and I'm sure you are too, are a firm believer of community outreach, resources, and help, which leads me to some questions about the David and Dovetta Wilson Scholarship Fund. If I'm not mistaken, the fund was officially recognized in 1991, but the first scholarship was given out in 1990. How did you even conceptualize the idea for a scholarship foundation? And I know it relates to your parents, so lead me through the beginning stages of making this come to fruition.
So in 1990, my family recognized, for one reason or another, that we had never given my mother a birthday party. We had never done anything to recognize and appreciate what she had done in raising her 9 children. And so we came up with this idea to give her an appreciation service at the church she attended. And we asked her to invite her friends. We invited friends. And we were trying to figure out something to do to honor her. And I came up with the idea of a $25 savings bonds to the elementary school that all of us attended. And I had a $25 savings bond because I thought it was only $12.50, and I thought that was an amount of money I could make happen every year. But once the nine of us sat around and had a conversation about what we wanted to offer, it ended up being 9 scholarships for $1,000 each every year for 9 students. And that was the impetus of the beginning of the David and Dovetta Wilson Scholarship.
That is beautiful. That's amazing. And because the David and Dovetta Wilson Scholarship Fund is a family foundation, what are some of the benefits and what are some of the pitfalls of working so close with your family from a business
So, yeah,
aspect?
one of the things we did when we first incorporated, became a 501c organization, was a constant reminder that we were a public organization, that this wasn't just a family sitting around talking about things, but that we had an obligation to the public to use the monies we raised appropriately in legal ways, and to ensure that we were doing what the mission required of us, and that was to provide uh, funding for students who wanted to attend college. One of the first things we did was, I had a friend in Staten Island who was a psychologist and who did seminars on families and business. And one of our first sessions was with him on how do you keep a family together when they are in business, and how do you ensure the family is working in appropriate ways to make the business
Hmm.
succeed. And that was a real blessing for us as we began the organization.
Would you recommend that option to other families attending a seminar?
Absolutely. Find out ways in which you have that kind of conversation, because families can be challenging.
And as the foundation has grown, you've expanded outside of the family. You've had to employ help from friends, business partners. Was it difficult to open up the organization to non family members because it's something that was so close to your heart? Or was it not difficult and it was the most logical progression moving forward?
And that's an excellent question. One of the things that helped us in the beginning was Long Island Newsday. I don't think the newspaper is still in existence. Decided to do a story on families in business, and the David and Dovetta Wilson Scholarship Fund was chosen as one of those families. And they did a front page article on us and the work we were doing in giving back to the community. That story was picked up by Reader's Digest, and then Ebony Magazine, and then AT&T did a special on images and realities of the African American family. And in that documentary, they did a story on the Wilsons, and they talked about this family coming together to give back to their community. And that was something my father encouraged us constantly, was give something back. For all of the blessings you've received as citizens of this country, find a way to give something back to your community. And that was really the impetus of us trying to find ways to encourage students to find ways to make a difference in your community.
That's amazing. It's incredible. And obviously, as things grow and expand, there is inherent change that comes with that. So, what do you hope for the future of DDWSF and where do you see it going?
So the scholarship fund, the David and Dovetta Wilson Scholarship Fund, was never simply about giving money away. It was about trying to transform communities and create leaders and develop leaders. So I was absolutely delighted when, as a fund, we decided to open the organization up to outsiders to become part of our board of directors and our friends and advisors. And one of my favorite stories, one of the librarians at our elementary school, Ms. Bachalutin, whom we all grew up with, and we actually named one of the leadership awards after her. When she passed away, just about 3 years ago, she made a substantial donation. She left a legacy to the scholarship fund for us to continue this work.
That's
And
incredible.
so we feel so honored, and I try to take every opportunity to mention her name, Bachalutin, because she made a huge difference for the fund and what we can do at this point in our history.
And I feel like that's a great reminder, and that is an example of how you are giving back to your community. The fact that somebody was willing to give so much money to the foundation must fill your heart, because that, it shows you're actually making a difference, and it shows that you're doing something. So
And our ambassador program, which I'm really excited about, that we'll be talking about at the summit this year, is really about saying to students, not just tell us how you would make a difference in your community, but come with concrete ideas on how you are going to make that happen. And so this new initiative, which is to say, present something to us and give us opportunities to fund ways to make that happen, I find an exciting way the organization has expanded from simply being a scholarship fund to being an organization that is doing community-wide initiatives in our nation.
so mentors and initiatives.
Yes,
Wow, that's
yes,
incredible.
yes.
So one of my final questions: how would you describe the David and Dovetta Wilson Scholarship Fund in 1 to 2 sentences to someone who's unaware of the organization?
I would say the David and Dovetta Wilson Scholarship Fund is an organization that's trying in small ways, but concrete ways, to make a difference in our communities across the country, and to encourage young people to pursue education, but education for a reason, to make a difference in our world. And so if we can be successful at that, and I think we have been, we will have made a difference in the world. I think of something Martin Luther King said in one of his speeches: if I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer someone with a word or song, if I can show somebody when they're traveling wrong, then my living will not be in
Wow.
vain. And I believe that's what the David and Dovetta Wilson Scholarship Fund is about, making sure our living is not in
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And lastly, my final question. This can be off the record or on the record if you'd like. I was reading your bio and I was talking to your daughter-in-law on your church's website, and it said that you are the proud grandfather of 5: Mia Jean, Christopher, Samuel, Penelope, and Benjamin. But I think you might be missing a grandchild.
I am. So we have 6 grandchildren. We were missing Iris, and she would never forgive us if we did that. But yeah, so Nareda and I, my wife and I, have 6 grandchildren that we could not be more proud of, and they are just a delight to us. We hope they are the future of the David and Dovetta Wilson Scholarship.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me today and giving a little more insight into the David and Dovetta Wilson Scholarship Fund. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, and make sure to check out our website, which is in our bio.
Thank you, Juanita.